Welcome to the next part of the $50 dirt bike series. This episode is going to be a bit more technical. It's just going to be replacing all the parts that I found that were damaged in the last episode, as well as just trying to get the bike more safe to ride and then, enjoy it for a short period before I commit to pulling out the engine. I did a little bit of work off camera, of which I resealed the clutch cover and put in some new sacrificial oil just to try to mix up as much of the metal shavings as I can. And once I run it, either I'm going to ride it for a short period or just let it idle for a short period, but 10-minute max. Then we'll change the oil again, put real stuff in it, and go from there. I got new plugs for it. I got the new front master cylinder, and I got a clutch lever that was the spare one off the blaster. I got a battery charger for the battery of the bike. In giving everything power, I found the headlight's not wired properly, nor does the horn work. The horn just kind of squeaks versus actually honk. We'll get to that when we get to that. So for now, I'm just going to swap the master cylinder and the clutch lever, get the clutch cable adjusted, and then we should be good to ride it this weekend and cycle that fresh oil through it and then change the oil. So yeah, we'll just jump right into it. So we have an 8mm, two 8mm, and it looks like a 12mm. And that should come off no problem. I made the mistake of putting fresh fluid in this master cylinder, so now it's going to leak everywhere as soon as I open it. So find a container to put it in, and we'll be good to go. Piece of shit. This is dumb. I think that'll do. Even though it's not exactly right. We'll go ahead and put some fluid in it and go from there. So I'll end up bleeding it off camera because I already showed you how to do it and it's real easy. So now I'll just do the clutch lever. It's the stupid style where you have to slide this stuff off. Oh, that sucks. Coolster. Trash. I went ahead and sprayed some WD-40 under the grip here because I really don't want to deal with cutting it off or having it fight me the whole way. I decided I wanted the kill switch right next to the other controls versus having it be control, brake, kill switch. It just makes more sense this way, I think. Okay, that's good. So now we can go ahead and adjust that all the way in, and we can go ahead and adjust the clutch on the clutch end, and then do fine tuning up here once I'm able to ride it. So yeah, we'll just do that real quick. Not sure, I'll probably put it in like the center and see how it feels once we ride it around. I didn't mark where it was previously, but I don't think it really matters because it was out of adjustment previously anyway, so that feels better. We'll ride it around this weekend and we'll see what we're at, because I can always adjust it as needed. I want to show you, I got the new plug in as well. So initially it had just a cheap torch spark plug in it, and I cross-referenced that to NGK, and that came up with a DP8EA9. And looking at the plugs, that like the thread and pitch and all that's the same, but the electrode itself on this one was out a little further, which I believe means it's a little bit of a colder plug, if I remember correctly. So I went ahead and got it swapped, got a second one, just in case the bike runs really rich and fouls this one out. Get put on there, and then all I need to do now is bleed the brakes, which I'll do off camera, and then we should be good to ride it this weekend. I also wanted to share, I thought it was kind of funny, now that the bike has power, I tested all the electrical system components and the horn's shot, but it makes a little weird little noise now that it has power, so it's like it's trying, but not really all that well. Okay, I went ahead and tried to bump start it a bunch. I live on a hill, so it's pretty easy to get a rolling start and roll it down the hill and try to start it that way. And it sputtered, but I couldn't get it to start. So now I'm just going to give up on that, and I'm going to fix the wiring. So it's basically just a matter of correcting anything that's been messed with previously, and then remove this little trail speedometer thing. Also, I've been thinking about how I'm going to mount this, and I think I have a solution. So I'm going to go ahead and try that at some point here soon. But first, I'm going to just pull this hole off and then fix the wiring, and then we'll go from there. This is what I was talking about. There's wires everywhere. There's some that are frayed and nearly broken. There's ones that have electrical tape everywhere. And these turn signals don't even have a connector anymore, it doesn't look like. Or if they do, it's been wrapped in electrical tape for whatever reason. So we're gonna go ahead and get it stripped back and see what I'm working with, and then go from there as far as correcting everything. Yeah, okay. It kind of seems like the previous owner was trying to make this waterproof, but that's not how you do that. So I hate old electrical tape. It gets so nasty, so gummed up and just a mess. Yellow to blue for whatever reason. Don't know why they're changing colors, but because China. Just in case I don't bother showing it, the way I'll be fixing this is any connections that are broken will be stripped back, soldered, and heat shrinked, and then anything where it needs to be just protected will get cloth tape over it. I'm not going to show you because I just don't feel like it, but they just drill a hole through the caliper mount and use cat mixing sticks from Home Depot as spacers for the sensor. That's pretty dumb. As we all know, wood makes good brake components. Apparently these little trail gauges are pretty good quality and good bang for the buck. God, there's so many janky connections. I can understand trying to protect it from getting water in places, but there are a lot better ways to do that, and it's not like this thing's going forwarding like up to the seat in water. It's like this is just a sketchy plug that I'm not even sure where it goes. Oh, I think this is one of the two that run under the seat and go to nothing. If I had to guess. Okay, let's put that back. I don't like these round connectors. They don't really hold together that well. So if I was going to rewire it properly, I would probably replace all those. So those three are for the turn signal. More janky ones. That's not doing anything anymore. Just set that over here. Janky shit can go in the trash. Trash you go. 3 spare. I'm gonna go ahead and say this flasher unit goes back up here. Nope. Well, I'm gonna make it go there, so whatever. So I think that's pretty much everything stripped back. So we have to fix this ground. Should be good, but put this heat shrink on there. Now we have 3 wires that seem to run the headlight, and they all have shitty connections on them, so that's cool. So one thing I did figure out is how to mount this solidly. So I got these, they're like mounts for handlebars that you put like a phone bracket thing on. So what I did is I drilled and tapped a M6 by 1.0, and that way when I install it here, I can thread a bolt into the holes in the side of the shroud, so that I'll just mount that solidly there. So I'm going to go and do that real quick, and then I'll get on to the rear to mount the taillight assembly. So that should be good right there. Okay, so that's hard mounted now. Aside from the wiring, the front's pretty much done. So all I did so far is I trimmed this down to like half the size because it was really just unnecessary and stupid looking. So right now it's going to sit tucked up in there like that. I've drilled holes both here and in the whatever this is called, and then I took a piece of aluminum and then drilled the same holes in it. That way there's something actually solid mounting these two together versus just plastic to plastic. It would have helped if I drilled the right size holes, so that's neat. Washers, and then nylon nuts. Should be good, at least good enough. And then pretty much good back here. I'm not going to film trying to start it because it's just going to be a matter of bump starting it, and that could take a while and also look pretty stupid. So I'll just come back on camera once it's running. And we're just going to let it idle for like, I don't know, 5 minutes or so just to mix up all that oil, and then we'll drain it out and see what it is. So yeah, we'll just see you in a second. Okay, so I just got it running. It took a solid 3 hours of pushing it down the hill, trying to bump start it. So that was a lot of effort, but I did eventually get it running. With the restrictor out of it, it is really loud. So yeah, I figured I'd bring it inside before anyone got too mad about that. With all that being said, I hate this bike. I rode around, it's got some decent power. It's a dirt bike. There's not really anything special about it, but the worst part about it is I know shit's gonna break, so I wanna be gentle on it, and that means you don't really enjoy it. So I think I'm just gonna punt it on, just sell it to the next person and not deal with it. But before I do that, I'm gonna go and drain the oil, see what we're at as far as like how metallic it is, how bad it is. I'm gonna pull the clutch apart again. So right now, the clutch is not even connected, like the cable's not even connected to the linkage rather. And I tried everything. I had it in gear and I moved the linkage to every single position possible and nothing engages it. The good thing is the entire clutch basket, that's like $30. So it's really cheap. So I'm just gonna take it apart and then actually take it apart like into pieces and inspect it all. And if anything's questionable, I'm just gonna replace it all. The other thing, I wanted to have it running here, put it in neutral and just have it idling here, but it is really hard to find neutral on this bike. A full swing of the gear selector is one gear change. Neutral is like half of one of those. So it's super easy just to go into the next gear and you don't have any feedback. And since there's no clutch, you can't really like disengage it to stop from stalling. So you really only have one chance to find neutral before you stall it. So obviously I stalled it because it's sitting here not running, which is whatever. I mean, I would have liked to show you what it sounds like and whatnot, which I may still once I fix the clutch and am able to ride around. But at this point, I'm pretty much committed to getting rid of this bike. But yeah, gonna drain the oil real quick and then we'll go from there. Before you panic about the oil being red, I would say the mixture is like 50-50 Marvel Misrule and just cheap 1040 motorcycle oil. So it's gonna be pretty red and probably pretty metallic-y. Oh yeah, literally as metallic-y as it was the first time. That's really awesome looking actually. Holy shit. There's so much metal in there. So let that finish draining and then we will pull the side cover back off. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's this little pocket here where it looks like there's something supposed to be here. Okay, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and call it here. The reason I'm going to do that is because I don't have any of the parts I need, and it's going to take me a while to find them and order them. So specifically the linkage for the clutch, I don't even know what's missing, but something is missing. There's a weird adapter thing on the crankshaft that has a washer that has notches in it that requires a socket to slide into it to loosen it. And I don't have that socket, so I either have to order it or make it. And I don't have the clutches, so all that's going to take a while to find and order, and most likely coming from China, which means like 2 to 3 weeks shipping time. So in the spirit of not holding up this episode any longer, I'm just going to call it here, fix it off camera, and move on to something else. And like I said earlier, I'm done with this bike. This thing's not old, and we're doing stuff like this, which is ridiculous. So to me, this thing's not worth it. I don't even want to deal with it. So I'm just going to get it as like functional as possible, and then just kick it down the road. So that means no pulling the engine, no fixing the Kickstarter. That's it. Like I'm just done. So yeah, just going to call it here. This will probably be the last you see the bike. It may be in the background of other episodes until I sell it. But in the meantime, it'll just be, fixed off camera and you won't see any updates on it. So yeah, with all that being said, thanks for watching and stay tuned.